Hey YouTube, how's it going? Nerdy Narwhal here, and I'm back again today with another 1/12 scale action figure review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at another one of my favorites from the Mythic Legions line, and that is Vorgus Vermilius, the Blood Armor. Now, a real quick backstory about this figure. It was actually picked by the fans with their very first ever Kickstarter, I believe. So Vorgus Vermilius here, fans were able to vote on which torso piece, which arm piece, what head sculpt, as well as the paint application to go along with it. And ultimately, this is what they picked. So super cool. This wasn't a vote that I was a part of, but that's an awesome piece of tidbit of lore for this figure. This is actually the figure that got me back in to collecting Mythic Legions. My very first figure ever was the Deluxe Barbarian Builder. And as of not too long ago, I had actually no Mythic Legions remaining in my collection. But I kept on eyeballing Vorgus Vermilius. And eventually I saw a good deal for one on the Bay and thought, yeah, okay, let's do it. Let's get back in here. So Vorgus Vermilius here got me back into the line and rekindled how much I enjoy collecting things outside of just 1/6 scale fantasy. And it's a really cool figure with an awesome paint deco. So this is actually something that is pretty sold out and fairly well sought after on the secondary markets. You know, you're looking to pay maybe $150 to $200 to get this guy in. But what's cool about it is it's absolutely something that you can make yourself, because all of the pieces on this figure are pieces that we have seen many, many times throughout this line. And if you get all the right pieces in, or you have enough of these pieces backed up, all you really have to do is slap down this chocolatey red kind of paint scheme and then go over it with some very heavy black washes to paint it up, and boom, you've got yourself your own handmade Vorgus Vermilius. Now, that said, I don't do a whole lot of painting myself. I've slapped some coats down on some builders before, but I would rather just have this guy in. And after buying all the pieces that I would need to get him and build him up like this, I'd probably have spent just about as much on this guy to make my own as I would just snagging him off the Bay. So I opted to just pick him up. And now we are going to have a look at the figure. So I'm going to turn off the rotating display base if I can. Oh, don't fall over, Vorgus. Click. Having a hard time finding it. There we go. Okay, and now let's dive in to Vorgus Vermilius. The figure is going to have more or less the same articulation scheme that you saw when we took a look at Otho. However, I prefer to... get that elbow to pop back in there. Part of the modularity is, sometimes you're going to get loose sort of joints. And I'll actually show you what I've done to mitigate that, because I do have a really loose elbow on Vorgus here. But yeah, same articulation scheme that you saw on Otho. So that head's going to be on a ball joint. The hinge and swivel for the shoulders there, which is blocked off by the pads a little bit. Swivel right here at the wrist. Hinge and swivel for the hands right there. And same thing for the legs. He could do the splits with the hinge and swivel. Swivel up here at the upper thighs. Knee, also a hinge and swivel. See, it's kind of a pattern. And the same thing down here at the ankles, allowing for a ton of great movement for your poses. So let me get Vorgus into a pose, and we will go through and talk about what this guy comes with. So I'm going to pop that sword right back in there. Here we go. Get that elbow wedged in. All right. Vorgus Vermilius. This figure comes with some of the cloth goods that Mythic Legions will include every now and again with their figures. And I usually don't use them every single time they come with. I put them aside and use them with a different figure that I might intend to use the cloth goods. But Vorgus here, I really like how that black sets off the blood red of the blood armor. So I stuck that on there. He comes with his pauldrons as well, and the horns for his helmet, which are also movable. So you can stick those straight up in the air, and all of a sudden you have a very different sort of look for Vorgus. I don't know why, but the horns going straight up in the air makes him look less aggressive, more calculated and domineering, in my opinion. But he is a mindless, soul-thirsty blood armor in his lore. So I like to have him straight down. That's a little more intimidating to me. So that's how I like to do it. And that's how he will stay in my collection. He comes with the axe that we've seen a lot of times. He comes with that big two-handed leaf-bladed sword that we've seen a lot of times. And I think he also comes with a smaller sword, but I gave him the big one because that's awesome to me. The pauldrons, yeah, I can unplug them here real quick. Okay, there we go. Plug right back into there, and without them, you do have a greater range of articulation. However, I think he looks too good with that pauldron on, and I'll set him down here real quick so that you can see it too. And judge for yourself the differences in how this guy looks without the pauldrons. So I stuck with the pauldron. A good way to get that cape on, there's actually a tutorial up on the Four Horsemen's website, I believe, and that's the one I followed to do this. But, oh, come here. First, I take the pauldron and I slip it in through this very first hole. And sorry if you can't see it too good, it's hard to do it on camera. And then I take that. So that's in this first hole now. Okay. It's hard to get the lighting on it as well. And then I take this piece and I fold it over like that to actually get that ruffled effect in the back. Let me slide that pauldron through. It's going to be hard to do on camera, but then I take the pauldron, slide it through the both of them, and then shove it into the hole. I'm going to do this off camera real quick. I apologize, but it's a whole lot easier to do when I'm up close to it. So there we go. Take it, fold it, and shove it in the hole. And then you get this decent enough little ruffly effect for the cloth goods back there. And it looks good. Let's get up close with Vorgus here real quick. So you see that awesome paint deco for the guy. His armor was meant to look like blood. And the lore for this guy is he's in the Ilithia's Brood faction, and he was one of the OG vampires who is just super power hungry. And so he got this armor made for him by the Legion of Poxus. I think it was something to do with Poxus. I think there's a little crossover there. But this armor actually drained him and completely consumed his soul, to the point where it's now just this sentient armor, the blood armor, Vorgus Vermilius, and it travels around looking for other souls to steal. So it's cool that the fans voted to create this figure, and then the Four Horsemen came out with official lore for it. I can't wait. The upcoming Ilithia's Brood figures that are going to be coming out from that new wave. It's going to look awesome. on display. They have a lot of blues and muted grays and whites with some slight red with all the figures, and I think this guy is really going to just pop on display with the rest of that faction because of how uniquely blood red his colored armor is. But yeah, guys, that's really honestly going to do it for this figure. Super cool piece, but there's not much to talk about in terms of articulation, as it's pretty much the same as any other 1.0 Mythic Legions Night Bodies if you had it before. The real selling point for this guy to me was that paint deco, which is just super, super cool. But anyways, if I did miss anything, feel free to get at me in the comments. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know. You can message me, I guess, on Facebook, but get at me in the comments. I'd love to get a dialogue going. It's one of my favorite things to do in this community is just talk to other collectors. So that's going to do it today. Stay happy, stay healthy, and keep on collecting. Bye-bye.